Plaintiff Diane Savino says after her son started hanging around the defendant, she heard that the defendant was a bad seed who hung around drug users. Diane suspects that the defendant even influenced her son to smoke marijuana, and she's suing him today for the value of a video game system. Defendant Daniel Ryan Almer admits that he used to abuse drugs, but insists Diane is also a drug user who not only uses cocaine with her own son, but who also abuses Percocet, OxyContin, and Vicodin. Ryan claims he's been clean and sober for 5 years now, and he denies owing her for a video game system.
Tell me what happened.
In the summer of 2009, my son came home with a new friend, the defendant, who we call Ryan. His name is Daniel Almer. And I was a little surprised. This didn't look like the friend my son usually brings home. He dressed a little differently. Rumor around town was he hung around with some of the bad kids, maybe was involved with some of the kids who did drugs.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
The police knew him.
She does drugs with her son. Her and her son do cocaine together. And she also does Percocet, OxyContin, Vicodin, which are prescription drugs, and she has no prescription too.
I thought it was my turn to speak, Ryan.
It's her.
Wow.
It's her turn to speak. We'll get to her drugs shortly.
Thanks.
Right now, we're on your drugs. Go ahead.
Anyway, my son's attitude started to change around the house. He started to fall behind in his car notes, and I sometimes smelled marijuana on the both of the boys, so I just suggested to Mitch that I prefer he didn't hang out with this young man quite as often. And I found out maybe a week later that he had borrowed $100 from the defendant with the agreement that he would pay him back in a day or two. The defendant, Ryan, asked for my son's Xbox for collateral.
Okay, before we get to the Xbox you're suing him for, let me allow him to give some background on this.
Me and Mitch were friends for about 4 months. Okay, we met at work. We started hanging outside of work. Mitch has a cocaine problem, and everybody around knows that. Your Honor, I've done all this before. You know, I used to sell and do drugs. I've been clean for almost 5 years. Okay, me and my woman, we got pregnant, you know, and we both stopped, you know, and we haven't touched anything since.
Then why were you always overnight at my house?
Diane has came downstairs when me and Mitch were playing video games on more than one occasion. She's messed up off Percocet, she's messed up off OxyContin, doing cocaine with her son, Your Honor.
How do you know?
You know that's
because
not
Mitch
true.
has told me this, Your Honor.
Okay.
She has came down one time when me and Mitch were playing video games, Your Honor, and she asked Mitch to get her some cocaine. Okay? Mitch wasn't able to get her
That's
cocaine
not
that
true,
night.
Dan.
Okay,
All right?
that's not true, ma'am?
No.
You never came downstairs inquiring about drugs at all?
Never.
To them? All right.
Never.
You think he influenced your son to use drugs?
I have an idea that he did.
Do you believe your
It's my
son
feeling.
used cocaine?
I don't think my son uses cocaine.
Okay, what type of drug do you think your son was using when he was being influenced by him and he was failing to pay his bills on time?
I think he was smoking marijuana.
All right. Go right ahead and tell me about the video system you're suing him for.
The time he borrowed the $100, he went the day after, or I believe 2 days later, and he gave the defendant his $95 back. And he had said that he wanted to keep the Xbox until he got the $5 additional. And Mitch said, you know, not to worry, since they were friends. He said, don't worry, I'll get you your $5 in a few days. And he agreed. He said, no problem. And Mitch left. He continued to keep the Xbox. My son contacted him 7 or 8 days later and said, I'd like to come over and get my Xbox. I'll drop off your $5. And he said, too bad, I sold it.
Okay. Because we got a little problem here. Well, I'll let you respond first.
All right. First of all, Your Honor, the agreement was he came to my house. I had my woman there, and I had 2 of my friends there at my house. My kids were sleeping. It was probably about 10 o'clock at night or so. He came to my house. He's like, I need the $100. I need the $100. I said, what do you need the $100 for? He said, I need to get, you know, some coke. I need to get a teener. He had no controllers, no games, you know, and so at first I was like, you know, this Xbox is no use to me. I can't even play it. And he proceeded to fall on the ground and throw a fit like a 10-year-old little girl. begging me to give him the $100. And, you know, my company's there, my woman is there, there is a 19-year-old man crying in my house.
I just don't believe that. And if my son did have a drug problem and he was truly his friend, at that point, don't you think he should have contacted me or maybe tried to get his friend some help? That's why it's real hard for me to believe.
No, that's
that
not
my
how
son
it goes,
acted
man.
that way.
That's not how it goes.
So
go ahead.
So I was like, you know what? Here's the money. I need my $100 in the next day or two. You know, probably a day or two later, he comes back, he calls me, I'm upstairs, I have $95, I needed the other $5 for cigarettes. That's cool, that's no problem. You know, so I go down there and he gives me the $95, and so when are you gonna have my other $5? He said, oh, I'll bring it to you tomorrow. Tomorrow, okay, all right. So tomorrow came, he never brought it to me. I tried to call him, he never answered.
You're a cold pawn shop. You gonna get a boy a $5 break?
Well, but Your Honor, you know,
Is that how you used to do when you were in the game?
Your Honor, here's the thing.
I know
have
friends were coming at you all the time.
I have two children.
That $5 not gonna make a difference.
My mother lives with me. I take care of my two children, my woman, and my mother.
So you know that $5 wasn't gonna make a difference?
So 2 weeks later, he comes into my job to order some food on his mother's credit card.
My son does not have access to any of my credit cards, and that is not true.
Ma'am, we notice your son is a saint. Can we just finish
He's
here? Go ahead.
So he's over there trying to pay for the food, and so I turn around and I'm like, Mitch, do you have my $5? He said, no, I don't have any cash on me. It's at home in my wallet. The girl who was serving him the food told him that what he could do is put a $5 tip on the credit card and she would take it out of the register and give it to me in cash so our debt was square. He said he didn't want to do that.
All right. Ma'am, as I said, we have a little problem here. The video game, you gave it to your son. And having given it to your son, it was his. He owned it. And since he owned it, you can't sue for his property. He has to sue for his own property. And particularly, he's an adult. So that's the problem we have here. You don't have legal standing to sue on his behalf. When you bring St. Mitch in, then maybe we can hear, and he may have a good case, but today you don't have the right to sue on his behalf. You're a cold man. You wouldn't give a man his thing for $5. You still haven't given it back?
I sold it, Your Honor. After a month of having it, and he didn't never give me my money, I sold it.
Have a good day.